Always that big question.
Yes. Existential questions.
Right?
All right, Austin, who are you really?
Man, who,
Yeah,
who is Austin Willis?
yeah.
Have you guys ever seen that Jackie Chan movie?
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
am
yeah.
I? That's
No,
it.
Um,
Oh, you haven't seen it, Stone?
no, I
Watch it.
haven't.
oh, you gotta
But
watch
Watch
that.
it.
It's definitely
Yeah.
it's a classic. Yeah. So my name is Austin Willis. I'm originally from Hayward, California. Um, the youth, I grew up between Colorado and California. Most of my teenage years were in California though. Competed at the high school level and then got recruited by some D2 schools straight out of high school. But this is, back 2011, 2012, where it's, D1 or bust.
yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
still that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of stuff kind of happened in my life, and I was just like, I almost went to the military actually. Took like a not even a gap year, like a gap semester from school, just trying to figure things out. Almost went to the military. And then I was like, you know what? If I don't attempt to run in college, I'm gonna regret it because I didn't have an event specific coach for jumps. I taught myself.
Mhm.
And then I was on the 4x4. I think I split like 49 mid. Um, but never did any weight training, nothing in high school, was kind of very much anti-weight room. Um, and just kind of taught myself. And then I went to a junior college in Stockton, California called San Joaquin Delta College. Had an amazing coach, Lester Bond. Was an Olympian, went to San Jose State when they were Speed City.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, got me right, fixed a lot of things. My first year of college, I think I went 46, right, maybe right under
Nice.
46. And then that like off season things were progressing really well. I was like, okay, like I know I should be able to go 48 to 50. And he had connections. So I had opportunities to potentially go to Ohio State or Cal just because of connections. And I was like, hey, give me a little bit of money, I'm coming. And then ended up tweaking my back. At first, they thought I just pulled my muscle. So I was like, all right, rehab, and then came back and running was fine. But anytime I would come down on my takeoff leg, it would just shoot a shock right up my back and it like make my whole leg go numb. So went to the trainers, like, all right, like maybe you're just not ready yet. I'm like, all right, cool. Rehab. Another like month goes by, go back, same thing. So we're like, all right, it's not improving. Like it's time to get an MRI. Ended up stress fracture my lower three vertebrae. And they're like, you know what, you can redshirt, it's gonna heal, but it could potentially happen again. And I was like, that's my back.
Right, right.
um, so went through that depression and kind of like, having a medically retire, get taken away from sport. Um, always knew I loved the sport. It's the baby, it's the prodigal child. So I always knew I was going to come back to sport in some shape, especially because I didn't have a coach. I knew I wanted to be a coach at some point. Um, Went on my life path, and then COVID happened, and then with work and stuff, I just had time, and I was like, you know what, let me just reach out to all the high schools in the area. And I was very honest. I was like, hey, I have no coaching experience, no traditional background. Like I competed. That's my knowledge, and I just, I want to get my foot in the door. Luckily enough, my coach Daryl Washington at Montclair High School, kind of same route in terms of how he got his break in. Someone gave him a chance. He's like, look, the first year, he's like, because you have no experience, like he's like, if you're open to, like, I'll bring you on as a volunteer, and then we'll see how it goes from there. I was like, cool, fine with me. Um, and Montclair's never been known for jumps, so I was like, cool, I'm a new coach. Y'all never been known for jumps. Like, let's take it over.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I will say I got very lucky with two athletes that right away I was like, oh, they got potential. Like I knew in my gut, I was like, if they buy in, they can be special. So it was two girls. My senior that just graduated, she's going to DePaul, so she'll be in your guys' area.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Ashley Noel. So she ended up being number 1 in our state this year. Went 19.7 3/4. And then my junior, soon to be senior, Kennedy White, who is primarily a triple jumper, and she went. They're the first teammates in or second teammates in state history to go over 39 in the same season.
Wow. Nice.
Um, and it's been a lot of hard work. It's been a lot of tears, and it's been 3 years of constant trying to figure it out, trying to experiment, doing what I knew, but also talking to other coaches, making up stuff as I go. Like, okay, I see this is a problem. How can we fix it? And yeah, just kind of going about it. And luckily I've built up, they've shattered every school record for the girls side. I have one junior boy who shattered the school record. So, and just kind of gaining that recognition within the area to where I've kind of become a staple name within our county and now our state group. And now I got kids from other schools like, hey, can I train with you? So I started the training group because coming from California, I'm so used to, once high school's done, like you most likely have a club team or a private coach you're working for. And, you know, you guys know being a jumps coach, you see other coaches are just horrible coaches.
Yeah.
But you see those kids that have potential. I'm just like, damn, like I wish I could help. And in the high school season, you don't really want to step on toes. So you might chime in here and there, especially if you have a good rapport with their coach, like usually you can bounce ideas off. So I had a few kids that I could do that with. But I was like, I want to help more. I want to coach more just because there's talent. And New Jersey has a lot of talent, but when it comes to field events, unless it's throws, like the coachings can be hit or miss. And I'm just like, Jersey could easily be up there with the Sunshine States, especially because I've come from California. So I started the private train this summertime, and I was like, kids I knew, I was like, hey, if you're not doing anything, like come train with me.
Nice.
And luckily we got a nice little training group going right now. It mainly started because so in New Jersey they have blackout periods, and the only way you can get around is like if you have a business. So I started it so I could train my junior because I'm like, going to your senior year, like we experienced nationals, we PR'd, but we wanted more. So we're like, we got to go all around and attack this like you're in college now.
Yeah.
And then so that's been going, and even now, like just some little quick things we're changing. I'm just like, we're looking at each other like, oh yeah, but we're like, so 8 more months.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's been a blessing, but it's also just made me hungrier because I'm just like, I don't know how much longer I want to be at the high school level because I want to branch out in terms of just like, do I go private and help everybody? Do I stay at the high school level? Because at the high school level, it is nice because I will say you start with someone that has no experience at all, and there is that nice thing, but it's on the boys side you deal with the football kids, on the girl side you deal with, it's just a matter of buying in, whereas like private coaching, like if they're coming to you to take it serious. So that's the dilemma of like the high school kids need the guidance, but also it is a mental toll because you'll get that kid that could be special, but then something happens, and it's, as a coach, it's like you got to remove your ego because I'm like, damn, like if he would have just bought in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just overall, I'm just like, now that like the athlete desire in me is like on the coaching side, it's like, man, I want to be one of the best. Like I joke with my kids, I'm like, my delusion goal is like 2028 is right around the corner. I'm gonna have some athlete at that meet.
Nice.
Well,
Okay.
I'm hoping so because my senior that's going to DePaul, she can compete for Jamaica. So I'm like, hey, we get you
cool.
to high 20s, 21. It's possible.
Yeah. Nice.
So
Nice.
in a roundabout long way, that is who I am in this coaching journey.
Yeah.
Man, it's we tell these kids to dream big. Why not you?
Yeah.
Man, I tell them all the time. It's like, so like my junior, like I've been with her since her freshman year. So like she reminds me so much of me when I was in high school, but now she has a coach, and I tell her that all the time. And very much think alike, very much analytical, and just like I know her to the T. She's like, even now, like I tailor her workouts because I know when something clicks. Like if I'm gonna do something new to her, I tailor her reps to allot her because I know if she starts clicking, she's gonna be like, can I get another rep? So I tailor her workouts to be like, okay, I'm gonna give way for 2 extra reps because I know if it clicks for you, you're gonna be like, hey coach, can I get another rep?
Yeah.
And like with her, like I tell her all the time, I was like, look, we had a disappointing indoor, we had an amazing outdoor. You set every goal you were reaching. We went to nationals with no expectations. We wanted to get finals. We fell a little bit short, but we know what it takes. And I told her, I was like, look, also the reality was that New Balance meet was stacked.
Yeah.
Like first place was 42, 2nd through 6th was 41s,
Yeah.
7th through 10th was 40, and you took 11th at 30, high 39. Like that's not a normal high school meet.
Yeah.
I was like, we
Yeah.
would have went to Nike or Adidas, you would have placed 4th or 5th. Like,
Yeah. And you got to get there too. The first time, like so much of it is about just getting there.
well, that's what,
through it.
And that's what we were talking about too, because it's like we don't have a pit right now. So like they're working on part athletic complex. So like pretty much our entire training regime this springtime was we're gonna make sure this approach is perfect as possible, and we're gonna make sure we understand our takeoff mechanic and just working on stretching that second phase. Couldn't work on landings, nothing like that. So there's just, and I told her that all the time after, because she's the type, if she feels let down, she's hurt by it, but then she's gonna let it fuel her. And I applaud her all the time. I'm like, look, you have 24 hours, feel it because you're human and you deserve to feel that because you wanted it, you care. But after, let's get back to work.
Yeah, yeah.
And as a coach, because I'm like, there's just little things I knew could have got her to that next step, but I'm like, we couldn't work on it.
Right, right.
And even now, like I introduced her now, like yesterday we had it, and I was like, hey, I was like, now that we've got our phasing closer to what we want, we now need to be active in our phasing, because very passive, losing speed. And I was like, and I just showed her like that little motion, and we got it yesterday at practice, and like instantly was picking up good 6 inches per phase. And I'm just like, oh yeah,
Nice,
like,
nice,
next year's gonna be fun.
nice. So what's the size of your, can you tell me kind of the makeup of your track team? So like how big is the whole team? You coach men and women?
Yeah, so we're in New
Okay.
Jersey, so the whole team, we're at a public school, we're group 4, so we're the largest
Okay.
grouping. So our team ends up being, overall as a team, our team is probably about 120, 130 kids. But New Jersey is very funny in how they run their meets, to where like dual meets, you'll have your JV, whatnot. But when you go to other meets, you can only have 3 kids in each event.
Sure.
So it makes it frustrating from a developmental standpoint, because then it's just like there's kids you're like, okay, I want to develop you, but I also need to give priority to like some of these kids that just need the meets, whether they're trying to compete in college, but also just seniority. So it can be challenging. At the beginning of the year, you get everyone that wants to be a jumper because they think sprint workouts, they're trying to avoid. I'm like, yo, my workouts are harder. Like they might
Yeah.
not look as daunting, but you're going to leave dead every single day.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, my group's probably about, this year was bigger, and that's just due to the success of the returners. So this year, the group started out about 15 kids, and then by the end of the year, it was probably about 8. And then on the varsity level, I had like 4.
Awesome. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
It's like we lost Dave.
Culture pop went down the wrong pipe. You get that ginger. Get a little bit of ginger in the esophagus. It's not good for you. Well, cool. So, how do you? Can you tell me first how do you coach like just jumpers? I know, and
So
the question is coming from like my time at the high school level. Jumpers, sprinters, distance, and throwers are, my boss was like, yeah, we're gonna do some stuff together. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, so I'm very blessed to be in a situation where our school has enough coaches to where like, so our head coach covers our sprints because he was a sprinter. So he covers sprints and like the distance kids for the most part. And then our throwers, they have 3 throws coaches, or they have 2 throws coaches, and then we have like 2 flex coaches. So we have 2 flex coaches that will help out with sprinters, just because obviously there's going to be a lot of sprinters. And then anywhere anyone needs field. So like I primarily coach horizontal jumpers. I help out with high jump here and there. I don't necessarily like it just because it's a different beast. But I know enough to help most of the talent that's on our team. And then I help out with hurdlers just because I used to run hurdles my sophomore year of high school. And that's how I made varsity as a freshman, was actually hurdles.
Nice.
So I help out our hurdlers. We don't have too many hurdlers, so that's a little easier for me. But the dynamics kind of changing now just because the team's growing and we see opportunity in other areas. And then especially with like indoor season, there's not a lot, New Jersey doesn't do a lot of jump meets. So how it is for like our meet of champs is they'll have a couple meets here and there that have jumps. And then it's like, as long as you're top 24 in the state, you make the meet of champs for jumps for the indoor. So it's me as a jump coach, I'm like, okay, how do I progress my jumpers indoors? Because I don't coach in the wintertime either, just because it's a lot smaller team, not as many meets, not as many events, so they don't necessarily need me out there. So I'm like, how do I progress my jumpers in the wintertime if I can't work with them? And then how do I keep them working on mechanics that we knew to in an off way and not worrying about like competing with sprinters for their spots because we can't take as many per meet. So my solution this year is like, hey, we're gonna hurdle. Like I'm not expecting you to be the best, but the mechanics of the takeoff for hurdle and long jump are very similar to where it's gonna work on your speed, but it's also gonna work on our penultimate.
Mhm.
So that's in the works now to where like I think I might be coming on the wintertime, but it's gonna be more so like helping out hurdlers and then like sprinkling in jumps here and there. But like my junior going into a senior, like me and her, like I've already worked it out. Like me and her will be working on jumps year round, and that I like if I got to rent a private gym somewhere just so we have the space, because like her, it's just like we can't afford not to do anything. Like we have two lofty goals. So like our realistic goal this year, because every year, so her freshman, she made our group state meet as a freshman. Was nothing crazy, but it showed her potential. She went like 34, and then her sophomore year went mid 36, and then last year we had a big, big PR at the high 39. And just based off her impression, the thing is, she just now started weight training in the middle of our season. So like now we're doing weights. Now we're just cleaning up a lot of like technique stuff. We'll have our pits. So I'm like realistically in my gut, I know she can go 43.
Yeah.
So like with her, it's like we cannot, for what our goal is, we cannot forge to jump. So she's a little different. Her program's a little different. And I already told the head coach, I'm like, look, I got to train her completely different than everybody else because her talent level, like I can't. And I've already had the conversation with her. I was like, look, you're gonna have days where like you're going to have to work out by yourself, and I'm gonna like chime in here and there. But so I can develop the rest of the team, as you know, and develop you. Like you just gonna have to work out by yourself, and that's just the reality of it. Or you're gonna be competing with the boys, which is fine because you can out jump most of our boys' team, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Oh, go ahead.
I've always tried taking like a holistic approach to how I train each athlete because each athlete is completely different.
Mhm.
I haven't done realistically, I have not done much planning because I'm a big proponent of at the high school level. Why it's nice to have some sort of a game plan. So like I might plan out the week, like, okay, like I know we need to touch on this because we didn't go to the meet or something like that. I go into each day like asking the kids, I'm like, okay, did you eat today? Did you, are you sore from yesterday? Because I know I killed y'all on it. Like Monday workouts for us are always hard. They're always hard sprint days, and I'm usually killing their legs. And then Tuesday is like acceleration, some technique. Wednesday's technique, and then Thursday I use as like a recovery, kind of like emphasis, like if we need 1 point of emphasis, and then Friday is pre-meet because we have like a Saturday meet. But yeah, for the most part, like I don't do too much programming. I'm trying to do more programming this year, especially with like more of our elite athletes that need some more fine tuning. But for the most part, it's kind of like I've had a game plan of like what weakness areas were, and then going about what each athlete needed. So like asking, like, and now like I always challenge my kid to like learn their sport too. So like even like my junior and the senior that just graduated, my junior, like they've got to the point now. I'll be like, okay, what do you feel like you need to work on? Like as your coach, I know what you need to work on, but I need to challenge you to see if you understand what is going wrong and what is going right. So like now, even at meets, like they'll come over for feedback. They're like, all right, I knew like I slowed down my last 3 steps. I got to push through. Oh, I dropped my hip. Can I see the video footage just to confirm that? I'm like, here you go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like they'll look through and they're like, is there anything else I need to queue up? I'm like, just be more active with your arms. Like just little things like that. So I always challenge them to like learn the sport and then get to the point where they can be, just because, at the high school level, I'm bouncing around all over the place. So it's like, as much as I want you to wait until I get back to jump, sometimes the reality is that if you're in a flight, there might be times where like I can't get back because you're back up and you can't, you got a minute on that runway. And I always emphasize like, hey, take that minute. But there might be a chance like I'm over there helping high jump and I can't get back. So having you may be able to record you, but also knowing like what you should be feeling.
Sure.
Let me ask you on the no planning part. Not that you're not planning, but having an idea, and I'm sure that you know what your big rocks are and what you got to cover. Like you said, you got to hit those, whatever those things are within that week. So what are the big rocks? What are the things that the non-negotiables for a jumper that you look at?
Yeah,
Like
so
no
for
matter
us,
what.
so for us, and this is just through my own experience because of getting hurt from jumps. I'm a big proponent that our non-negotiable is we are going heavy on ankle, knee, and hip stability and strength. And then aside from that, we hammer our approach. We do so much approach work. Like my senior, the only time she fouled this year is because I had her start getting overly aggressive because I needed her to be fearless and like not be fearful of foul to get those big jumps. And then my junior, the only time she fouled is when I told her like, hey, push as hard as possible for this last jump. Like you already got the win. Let's push as hard as possible and see what we could possibly squeak out. So other than that, like their board accuracy has been immaculate. And that's because this year, because of not having a pin, I was like, the only thing we can control is the approach because the reality is it too, if your approach is not right, the rest of your jump's not going to go correct. If we're not pushing through, if we're not bounding those first 3 steps to build the power in our 30 meters, because that's reality, we only have 30 meters to work with. If we're not building enough power and speed, you're not going to run through the board. You're going to try jumping off the board to make up, the distance. So I'm huge on and foul jumps just piss me off. I hate foul jumps. So I'm like, I try to control them. And every athlete, there's always gonna be that one athlete just pisses you off.
Yeah.
But so my non-negotiables is definitely core strength, hip, ankle, knee complex. And it's also just because these kids need it. They don't play outside as much. The
Yeah.
shoes where most 90% of kids I encounter now are flat-footed. So we're really working on those just because jumps take so much out of your legs and you need it. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with destroyed legs.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean? Like, what do you do? What does it look like on a typical
Yeah,
day?
so we do a lot of resistance band work. So like this year, like I'm always experimenting. So like I'm not sure if you follow him. He's on Instagram, Pronate with Nate.
Okay.
So he's based out of Los Angeles. He works with the professional athletes and he coaches at Upland High School in Los Angeles area, but he does a lot of like hip and ankle. I found him this year, but a lot of stuff I was already doing, I was like, oh, cool. It's kind of cool to see someone validate my crazy ideas.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of band work. So like we'll do a lot of like putting the band on like the feet and then having it like I have them drive up fast and then they have to control going down real slow, like isometrically. I do a lot of isometric lunges, but I'll have them on yoga blocks. So like essentially like I'll have the back foot on the yoga block and then I'll have the front foot where they have to have the heel raised, even though that's not the landing mechanism, but just so we can isolate those complexes and really work on any imbalances. Do a ton of core. So we do flatland core, so like anything like medicine balls, just bodyweight core, but then I have them do a lot of hanging core as well, just to decompress the spine and then work on flight mechanics because we haven't had the pit. So usually I have them, usually Tuesday and Thursday, I have them do at least 400 reps of core. And then if it's one, like I change, each one has a different core regimen. So like if I know athlete A needs more lower core, like, all right, cool, we're gonna do more, leg raises or isometric this or that. If I know athlete B, we're still internally rotating, like, okay, we got to work that lower back so we can have the strength to sit neutral. So I try to just look at each athlete holistically and see like what we need. And like perfect example is like this year, my junior, because she's very lean. She's 5'8", 123. And early on had a lot of knee valgus. So we'd be squatting knees going in. So I'm like, all right, cool, we're gonna challenge this. So we're gonna do a lot of body squat stuff, but we're gonna put the bands around your knees and you gotta hold your knees in that position. Don't let that band snap you in and really just working on little things like that. And her made her balance so much stronger because she just had the stability to be able to go in each phase.
Yeah. Nice. So I actually like keyed on to you started weight training with one of your athletes like mid-season. I'm super interested to know what the impetus was for that and
Yeah,
like
so
what that looked like to intro mid-season. That's super
yeah, so to say mid-season probably isn't accurate because they get introduced during the winter season, but our head coach is a big proponent of this too, is because a lot of the imbalances a lot of these kids have now is we teach a lot of positions of things. And I'm a big proponent of 90% of these kids, until they get to their junior, senior level, depending on their development, actually don't need weight training, in my opinion, just because they're still growing, number one, as youth athletes. And luckily we have a staff that knows what they're doing, but most programs teach their track athletes like football players, and they kill their kids' athleticism.
You have a strength and conditioning program?
No, it's just our coaches, but most of our coaches have taken, their CPTs, or our head coach has the CSCS. So we approach it in a holistic manner of all our youth, like our freshman, sophomore, like they only do body weight, or they only do like just the bars, so we can teach them proper positions before we even add weight. And then like with Kennedy, who is my junior, it's like we introduced the bar in like very light, so like 5-10 pounds, and introduce like that with band work, so we could work on hinge stability and just correcting proper postures, and then emphasizing like points of contact. So like we're not sitting back, or we're not there's teaching them how to understand their hip positions. Like now she'll be like, oh wait, I gotta fix this. Like I'm entering and rotating. And like that as a coach is so dope, because I'm just like, cool. Like not only are you just doing the exercise right, but you're knowing your body. And that's something so big to me, because we only have one. And because of having major injuries between my back, I've dislocated a shoulder, I've broken an elbow, broken toes. I'm just like, wintertime comes and I feel like I'm 80. So I'm like, if I can teach you all this earlier so you can carry that in life, like that's my biggest goal.
Yeah. That's like what same thing we do over here. A lot of just movement competency and movement literacy. Like the weight room should be a place where you learn movement patterns. You don't just hammer big squats, you don't just hammer deadlifts, but you need to know how to hinge. You need to know how to squat. You need to know how to single leg squat, split stance, push pull, all of the movement, like those 9 basic movements, rotation, all that stuff needs to happen in the weight room. And then it can become a little bit more coordinated to stuff that you do on the track. It just gets so like there's so many people that are like, oh, how does this specific thing transfer to the track? It's one thing that has to transfer, and you have to make that correlation, or I'm going to throw the rest of this shit out. It's the hang cleans and stuff like that. The hang cleans are terrible. Like the whole idea for these kids, for youth programs, is just give the kids a movement library, give them opportunities to express different movement patterns, express power in different positions, express, understand the coordinative nature of movement in general. Then you can take the skills of track and field and apply them on the track where they should be applied. That's where I get caught up with like Franz Bosch and stuff like that. You get these coaches that are like, oh, that's the thing to do. And these kids are like, dude, the kid's a 14-year-old kid. They have zero training age, and you're worried about doing barbell step ups with knee drives and this and that. Like, just teach them how to walk first, teach them how to run, teach them how to jump, teach them how to squat, hinge, pull, push, and then they could start to understand. And then when they get to college, it's the responsibility of the strength conditioning coach at that level to then see if they're competent, then start to challenge their coordination again with different complex moves like that. So, like, I'm with you, man. It's the weight room is not the end all be all. And if you just hammer these kids with heavy weights, they're going to suck.
And that's my thing. It's just like, I joke around with my kids all the time. I'm like, I'm training you like Jamaicans. Because when you look at
grassroots,
look at these Jamaicans, the sprint was a perfect example when they showed the track they were training on. Just a dirt field. And when I think of, I'm like, when you look at history of jumpers, like, look how many phenomenal Cuban jumpers there are and how similar each one jumps. Mind you, most of the time it's the same coach, but I'm like, if you look at behind the scenes, like, it's because and I love talking to foreign coaches because they don't really emphasize like overall pure power and strength until that elite level, because especially, and this is just my thinking, especially coaching jumps, I'm like, it's so technical. I can give you strength and power afterwards, but if we don't get your technique and your understanding of movement patterns and stability right, and we just focus on all that power, you're compensating, and then it's so much harder to fix all that stuff later on because you've compensated in other ways. And especially at the high school, you see so many kids where that rhythm is just, and then jump. And I'm like, no, I want that nice skip in the rock pattern. But so I'm like, I can always give you strength later. And I much rather do that when you're a little bit older and developed, so I don't have to worry about a growth spurt and you tearing something.
Yeah, yeah. But I think there's a couple pieces to that. Like one is, you don't put a Hemi on a janky chassis. Like it's just not gonna drive right. And then the other side of it is, the distance side of me is like, don't go there till you need to go there. If you're improving without it, keep improving, and then you do the next thing.
Yeah.
But you don't do all of the things.
And that's where I was like, even like because like I always try to do like debrief after meets or practice like with my athletes, and like my junior, like I try to always just be very honest with them. Like, look, like her long jump plateau this year. I was like, reality is like we have to just get you faster. And it wasn't necessary that she's not super fast, but she's not slow, but she doesn't trust her speed. And that just comes down to it just because of how New Jersey is. A lot of New Jersey loves their relays, and it pisses me off because I think it's the biggest hindrance of development of athletes. And then it's just because we can only take 3 sprinters at a time, so she's just not sprinting enough from her. She doesn't have like a race pattern sprinting. And I tell her all the time, like, mind you, I don't need you sprinting full out like a 100-meter runner. Like, number one, jumper sprint mechanics and pure sprinting mechanics are slightly different, and that's just the reality in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't need you doing that, but I need you to learn how to run, and then I need you to know how to trust your speed. But in the reality, I was like, we just don't have, like, her top end is good, but she doesn't have the speed endurance. We don't sprint very long that much. And then the reality is, like, we just have to get her acceleration faster, but she doesn't have that mechanic yet, because now that she has these movement patterns, now we have to put that power and strength on her. So like I told this year, I was like, look, this offseason, like, yes, we're gonna still bound and whatnot, because we want you to keep that rhythm and that rust off. But I was like, our main focus this year is your power and to get you faster. Because once we get you that, everything else is gonna be easier.
Yeah. That's one of the things that that Coach Stone and I were talking about, like last week. It must have been last week, talking about the repeatability of your approach. You can't just blast on the runway. You need to be able to have control of that speed. Now, being faster is way easier to have control of a higher speed. But that's repeatability is huge. You got to be able to do it multiple times and control it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this. So in terms of approach work, I've got 35 jumpers in total. And these girls like range from have never done anything athletic before to really talented athletes, just naturally gifted. So I started with them about 4 years ago. And the biggest thing that I have focused on is like, okay, like you said, approach work, getting them to understand what does the drive phase feel like? What does that transition feel like? What does upright feel like? And how can we blend that together for a smoothless rhythm? But the one thing that I have not done with them is mid-marks. What do you guys feel about mid-marks application? Now, if I had 6 jumpers, it'd be a lot easier to do a lot of these things. But I haven't really, I've been like teeter-tottering. Do I spend the time all of indoors to teach mid-marks so we can get outdoors so that we can then start hammering, like, what does this really look like in a good, smooth approach? Stone, I don't think you and I have talked about this at all ever.
No, we've never touched on that.
Yeah. Because like, so where do you guys, first of all, where do both of you stand on mid-marks and just marking that off? And then let's go back to like transition of the, or just the approach in general, how you break that down.
So mid-marks, in my opinion, I think if your athlete is elite, you can introduce it. Because at least at the high school level, and this is just the athletes I've worked with, so I started to introduce mid-marks, and it wasn't even necessarily making a mark, but it's more so cues of like a stride pattern. So I was like, our first 3 strides, we got to push real strong power bounds. 5, 6 is when we're starting to transition from those. And then 6, 7, we should be tall right underneath the hip at takeoff. And the only reason for me of why I introduced them is because like they're now at the level where like we're now at an 8 or 16 step approach. But reality is a lot of high school kids, and this is just how I coach. Most of my athletes will only go from maybe a max 6-step approach because reality is otherwise they just try going balls to the walls, full on speed, and then your approach is all over the damn place. So the mid mark for me got introduced this year just because I had some athletes that were mature enough and to the caliber to where we could go 8-9 steps, and then it's like it made sense to have a mid mark or a mid Q for them.
Yeah. Because I sit right between you two guys, so I have 28 jumpers, which is absolutely insane. And the best thing that ever happened to Illinois track and field is we have 1 million jumpers now. So like we have 20 flights of everything. So I'm like,
This is because the sprint cap is crazy now.
yeah, I'm like, great. I have 2 people per flight. So awesome. Like this is awesome. I don't go mid marks. Just because I can't connect the logistics on it. The place I think of the most in terms of horrid logistics, and I say this knowing that every breakthrough jump I think I've ever coached has been at this track, is University of Chicago. If you've ever been there, it's one runway that's on the track. So like when they run the 200, you have to stop the jump and step off the track. And I'm like, yeah, if you put a mid mark down there, one, I'm going to have 18 mid marks, and then they're going to get run off the track. So what I've actually shifted to is when my women jump, I put down a 190 mark. So 1.9 meters off the board. And then when my men jump, I do a 2.1 meter mark. And the reason for that is it doesn't give me all the info, but I've gotten to the point where after several jumps, I can say, all right, we're fouling, you're behind the 2 meter mark. Normally you're on the 2 meter mark. Or you're, I see when my gals were jumping really big at the end of the season, they were running in front of the 190 mark, and which means they were just hammering down the runway. They were getting in front of the mark and then putting their foot down. When they were jumping not as big, I'm not gonna say poor, but they were behind that mark and then pushing to the board. So it gave me enough info that I could be like, all right, well, let's extrapolate. Let's use deduction to be like, cool, you're behind the mark here. Historically, you float through the middle of your approach. Like, let's address that. Or you're way in front of the mark. Like, are you freaking juiced right now? Like, what's happening? And so I'll use that because it's a single mark, which is really nice. And then out in Long Beach, I found out a lot of other people use a 2 meter mark. So it was great because a bunch of us coaches were just like, boop, put the 2 meter mark down, and we go off of that. So
I do something similar, but I do it with their third step from their back end. So each athlete of mine does a little bit. So like my triple jumper, she very much runs exactly like a jumper, has like those real strong power bounds out the back. So with her, on her third one, I'll just put like an X right in the middle of the runway, and I make it small enough to where it doesn't distract her, and I don't even tell her it's there. But it gives me just like, okay, if we're hitting that on that third bound, she's usually always gonna be dead in the middle.
Sure.
Now you're talking about third total step?
So it'd be her sixth step.
So okay, third jump leg. Got it.
Yeah. And then I find people think I'm weird for this, but I think it's smart and it's worked for me. Is I know a lot of people tend to take people's mark from the back end of the board because they want to try to get on the board. I always go from the dead middle of the board. Because as much as we want all the board, I much rather have the middle of the board and always have a fair jump.
I've seen a lot recently, actually.
And yeah, we don't fail too much. So staying with it.
Yeah. We target the back end of the board, not the front. So like furthest from the pit is usually what I do. Unfortunately, in high school, in these parts, boards can range from like 4 inches to 12 inches. It's
we got painted boards.
Like,
we got painted boards that are faded most of the time. So
yeah. So okay, do you guys ever time these approaches?
Oh, I want to so
answered.
bad.
Question answered.
I'm like, I want to, but I also just know like realistically, they're just not fast enough that it really makes that big of a difference
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me. So I'm just like, no.
I
I've started doing it in practice though, just to challenge them to push all the way through it.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, all right, give me. I was like, so what I do is, and this is on meet days too. When I put their marks down, because I have it's just like my pre-ritual. Like everyone like people, they're like, oh, your athlete should be independent. They should put mark. When we first get off the bus, I disappear from the team just because I don't like being around people, and it's just how I was an athlete as well too. And I go to the runways because I want to be the first person to check in, and I also put all their marks down before we have to deal with anyone. That way, like they can just go worry about just warming up, that full warm up, and they know like I don't gotta rush over there and battle with 60 other kids because I know coach put my marks down. Like they know how to put their marks down, but I'm like, I'll go do it. Y'all focus on your warm up. That way, we actually are just going nuts from the beginning.
Yeah.
Wait till you get 35.
I'll still put them down, honestly.
Yeah. I've if you want to see me go crazy, I tried timing getting speeds on takeoffs, and that was the day my free lap stopped working. So I need
Oh God,
I need
free lap
timing
never
kits.
works. Surprised it started working.
Oh my God. I was so mad. I was like, so I'm like, guys, it takes what it takes. You got to be taking off 18 plus miles per hour in the triple here. So we're going to time it. We're going to see what your last 5 meters, 10 meters is. And my free lap didn't work. So it's one of those, like, everyone's like, coach, you okay? I'm like, no, not okay.
Yeah, what I was gonna say too is on meet days, I tend to move their marks back like a good 6 inches because I know is gonna just
Oh
push
yeah,
them.
for sure.
Yeah. So that's a kind of a given. So that's one of those that we talk about that every single day.
They're
Yeah.
like, oh, what's my mark? I'm like, it's the same thing as normal.
Yeah.
I'm like, because if I say I moved you back, then now you're overthinking it. I'm just like, you're
Right.
just fucking run.
Yeah, you can't tell them you changed something. That's game over.
Like I have one girl like in practice when we do it, and she's consistent, so it doesn't bug me. But so her mark in practice is always 100. By meet day, she's always at 103.
Yeah.
It's just adrenaline and how hard she pushes.
Yeah. That's I've had a couple where in practice. So my first girl who kind of set the tone for our jump squad graduated a couple years ago. Every time in practice, we would run a 93-foot approach, and she would be 6 inches behind the board, and she would panic on pre-meet, and I'd say, okay, tomorrow, if you're still 6 inches behind the board, I'll let you move up. And then on meet day, she nails the board like every time. And then
it's hard to replicate that intensity, and just like with me. So there's a way I got this, and who did I get this from? I think I got it from Jeremy Fisher. But the way I kind of got around like trying to replicate that intensity to challenge them is I do a 2-minute drill. So when we have the So when I have the
drill
2-minute drill, and that gets so amped, and it'd be destroying them because it's a hard drill.
Yeah, it's such a hard drill.
Jeremy Fisher, Lombard guy.
Yeah.
All the best coaches are from Lombard, I guess.
Let me ask you guys this. This is on terms of off the triple jump, but I've got a girl that blows through her second phase. Shin angle is terrible. Like she just can't. I cannot figure out how to get her to realize that she needs to plant in it with a negative shin angle to get more vertical into the second phase. Like the girl has like a 4-inch second phase, but it still goes 35 feet. You know, like she's really springy, but just blows straight through that second phase. And a lot of like the boost extinator stuff, like working on that vertical takeoff, working on that vertical contact and teaching her how to bound in that, it's not correlating. She's not understanding it because she can't do it at speed. So when she's coming through fast, she just can't understand it. So we've like tapered her approach. She runs down the runway 80-ish%. It's helped, but when she comes off that first phase, she just contacts the ground. There's no negative shin angle, no vertical component to that transition, and just falls flat.
So I'll speak on how I kind of approach it because I had to do that with my junior this past season, because indoor it was just because I wasn't out there with him enough. Like, she didn't have a bad year by any means, but it wasn't to what we knew she'd be jumping. And her second phase wasn't that. And this like, so how I approached it was like, came down to, I'm like, all right, so for the first half of the season, like I kept her at a 5-step approach. I was like, we are going a short approach, so you have no real speed to really do anything. And then I hammered on focusing on just the actual takeoff angle, because she used to just take off, have a massive hop phase, and then her just blowing through that second. So I was like, I told her, I was like, look, I need to take away your speed. We need to get horizontal on that takeoff. And if it's shorter, I'm fine with that, because you should still be in a position to where you have the strength to stretch your second. And I found that helped her, just because of not having that speed, she couldn't push her hop as much as she could have anyway. So it started forcing her to go horizontal. And then just naturally, she started getting that second phase.
Yeah, yeah. I think I like that. I usually say, like, I'll tell the kid, give away 10 inches in the hop to get 20 inches in the step. You know, that's a plus 10 still. So like we want that. That's a big one. So I mean, we work shorter approach from day one, pretty much in the fall, but that's a luxury I get to have that not everybody does. One of the things, you know, and I'm gonna do it again. I'm ripping off Bobby T. He, you know, he said one of the things that I changed was we went hop, step, step all the time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Took away the pit. You don't get a pit. You got to land it. And he's like, when they have to land it with no pit, they stop tipping and they stop overdoing it because the safety's gone. So it's like,
Another good one that I got is from Aaron Gadsden, Thea LaFawn's coach.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
doing hop step.
yeah.
It's hard as hell.
Oh, it's so, yeah,
It's super hard, but once they, even if they just start getting a little bit, being able to do a double hop, I don't know what, like I need to get some theory on him. I gotta talk to him again. But like once they start getting that double hop, it's like the second phase just fucking grows.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think my theory is it's more so they just, because they have to learn how to carry the speed and they have to be horizontal to get a second hop, but it also strengthens their hip flexors, because the reality is just a lot of people have poor hip flexors.
Yeah. If you mess up a hop step one time, you don't do it again.
Yeah.
Because it's rough. My big boys do that. Like I let my big boys run. Like they'll go hop step. They'll go hop step sometimes.
That's
We do like gator drills is what we call them, from Nick Peterson. But yeah, it's that's a big drill. Like that's a tough drill, and like you got to let them crater one time, and then they don't do it again.
But the thing I will say, like once they get that, their confidence, they feel like they can take on the world.
Right. Yeah.
So give me your fundamental drills. If you had only 3 drills to choose, I'm not including short approach jumps in that.
Okay.
3 drills to perfect a triple jumper. What do you do?
So my first drill actually is going to be isometric like lunge holds. Like I put them in like the bound position, so we want just 90 degrees, and I make them hold that for, so if like it's a newer jumper, I go for like 30 seconds just because they don't have the change for it. But like my varsity jumpers, like I make them hold it for like 2 minutes and just an iso hold.
Yeah.
So I'd take that one.
Nico's
I'm gonna take a hop bound. So actually it would be, I do hop bound back to hop bound. So it's like a 3
Yeah.
double.
Yeah.
And then a good drill I got from a good coach and friend of mine out of LA who coaches at Mount Sac College. He gave me it. It's actually just to work on the free leg for the takeoff. So it's, you have them like put their takeoff leg on a cone.
Mm-hmm.
The takeoff leg.
Yeah. I've seen this. No, it's your.
It's their free leg. So you put the free leg on the cone, and then they have to do their hop, but it just gets them used to having to push horizontally so that leg swings down. And that one was huge for us this year, because my junior, she had no free leg. She just kick it back, and that was another thing. She was going super high, and like as soon as she got that, everything else started stretching out.
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause I'm just a big proponent. Like, if you can't set that first phase up, like the rest of the jump's never gonna come together.
Yeah.
yeah.
Stone.
Oh man, I think I'm gonna go STJ. So just a standing triple.
Yeah.
Like we rock.
Hard, it's hard.
Yeah, we do them all year. We get to where we do them off of 6-inch boxes. I put weight vests on them. So STJs are big.
That's another good one.
Yeah. I think that was a Jeremy Fisher ripoff too.
Yeah.
I think
that
that was
champions whatever he videos he did back in like the early 2000s.
yeah. Well,
I mean, now he's got NBA, so he's got that.
Yeah.
He spoke down the road here, and my daughter had to watch me fangirl for the first time. She was like, "Who are you, Dad?" Don't worry about it. Just don't tell your mom. So I'm gonna go STJ. I'm gonna go gator drill. Hop, step, jump.
Okay.
So the full hop, step, jump. And then I think my last one would be similar idea, first phase runoff. So we do a short approach, sometimes long approach, and you take your first phase off at the long jump board. And what we do is we measure your swing leg distance in the sand. So if I'm a right, left jumper, I'm taking off my right foot, and then my left foot cycles down. My right foot lands in the sand, and I got to reach my left foot into the sand. So I measure that second left foot into the sand.
So I do one similar.
Yeah.
My athlete hates me for this, but she loves me at the same time because it helped her a lot. So I do one similar. So that they'll do a short approach, full approach sometimes towards the end of the season. They do their hop into the sand, but then I challenge them to do a bound out of that landing. And
Gross.
no, it's hard. It's hard as shit.
Yeah.
It took her a good 4 times, like 4 practices of getting it, but the second time she got it, and she got back up into a step phase. And when I say her step phase, that next meet, so I did that right before I moved her to a full approach the first time.
Yeah.
And literally her series, that first meet, we went full approach, and after doing that drill, first jump was 37.2, which was a 8-inch PR. I was like, okay, cool, it's gonna be a good day. I ain't even mad. Second jump, 39.1. I was like, okay. Third jump, she clips because she buckled. Still pulled out a 37.11. I was like, oh, okay, that could have been another big one.
Yeah.
We go to finals because this is at our conference meeting. We go into finals. First jump, 39 again. I was like, okay.
Nice.
Second jump in finals, we go 38.2. I was like, okay, we're having a great day. Last jump, I was like, hey, just send it. Let's see what we get. And she overthought it and just like ran through it. I was like, I'm not even mad.
Yeah. Nice.
But it's and that's the nice thing about jumps too, I will say, is I always tell my athletes, like, I tell them, like, there's thresholds. Like, once you, like, I will always bank on, like, I tell them all the time, I was like, I much rather you be a consistent 37-foot jumper than have a 38 and then you're jumping a bunch of 36s.
Yeah.
So I hammer on trying to be consistent, because it's also, I'm like, hey, you're gonna have that meet where you meet talent versus talent, and those countbacks are gonna save your life.
Yeah.
And it happened this year. Like, literally my senior, her and a girl jumped the same exact mark, but her countback was only an inch shorter than her best jump. And I was like, you just took second place because your countbacks.
Yeah. So let me ask you a follow-up question to that. What kind of speeds are you guys coming into on these drills? Are you progressing the speed that they come into? Or are you more so? We're assuming that these kids understand single leg and double and alternate leg bounding. That we've already taught them just a basic single leg continuous, alternate leg continuous. What kind of speeds are they coming into with these? You telling them, you giving them 10, 15 meters, and you say just rip it, coming in under control?
So for a long jump, I tell them I want them as close as possible. I mean, it takes a level of fearlessness and building confidence to get there. But I tell them for long jump, I want them anywhere between 80% to close to that 100% of their 100 time. of getting down that runway, because I'm like, in long jump, your speed is your main factor.
Yep.
Like you got to be.
I'm talking about doing the drills. So your
Yeah.
big 3 drills, these drills that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
That's more so what I'm asking.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Not not on the runway. Just like during drilling.
For them, I try to challenge them to go close to their full speed, because like most of the time we're not doing a full approach. So it's really, I'm just like, be aggressive and push through, because I'm like, I tell them treat it just like your approach. So push hard through these 3 steps or 6 steps, and then you're just gonna know you're gonna be right at the board, but at least you're mimicking the same mindset of like, I'm running down the runway rather than I'm just doing a drill.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I picked my 3 drills is like standing triple, stationary. Gator drill is a progressive, so I usually go 4 steps the first time you do it, 6 steps, after a couple weeks. I think my top 2 guys worked up to like an 8-step approach, 8 total steps, which is fast for that's hard on a gator drill.
Yeah, I'm like, that's tough.
And then first phase runoff is full approach. And that's kind of the point behind it, is full approach. So you get all the speed. So you hit 3 different levels of speed. I will throw an asterisk in if you ask my athletes, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, if you do this, Austin, is they would drop probably all 3 of the drills if they could target jump more. Mine love, like, I phase out their jump for them and we just target a cone. So I take their goal. Sometimes I'll go off their goal and we'll go 36. I go 36, 32, 33. Am I doing my math right? 36, 32, 34% of their goal. And then they have to jump it, cones out, reaching for the cones. Or we go current PR showed approach. So if you're a 40-foot jumper, I put a 40-foot mark out there for first phase, second phase, sandpit landing, and you have to jump your PR off a 6-step. So they like freaking lose their minds over target jumps. Like they ask me.
That's so funny you say that, because Thernhofer used to do that with us all the time.
Did he?
So Austin, so my college coach was Bob Thernhofer. He's over at Louisville now, but he's a horizontal jumps coach there.
He's a good damn coach.
Yeah. So that was one of the drills.
I just sent him an email trying to get him to recruit this athlete. I'm like,
yeah. He was my coach in college. He knows Stone really well as well. So that was one of the biggest, the one drill that I remember. I don't like all the other shit that we did. That was the shit that I remember because there was competitiveness to it.
Yeah.
We all were competing all the time. And even if the shit looked bad, we still were competing,
Yeah.
So I would say if we had the pits, my athletes would probably die for that. But I also think it's different. Like, I know my boy jumpers would go crazy for it.
Yeah.
Where my girl jumpers, like, they have got to that point, at least, I mean, my senior, they got to the point now, like, they want breakdown. So because we didn't have a pit this year, like, I did something very similar, but what I did is I ordered just like 2x2 rubber mats, like you would use for like a gym flooring.
Yeah.
And then I space out their phasing. So like, because we don't have a pit to work on the last phase, I'm like, all right, cool. And I would tell my athlete, I'm like, all right, we know on average at your full approach, you can do this far of a hop. Yeah. I'm going to shorten that a little bit, but I'm going to extend your step phase and like, let's just get those mats and then bail out of after the bound. And then after they started getting the drill, I'd be like, all right, after that bound, like just go into another like bound just to like finish like what your jump would be, but you're not actually jumping.
Yeah.
And that one helped us a lot too, just because especially with my junior jumper, because she's primarily a triple jumper. It really helped her because it helped her mentally challenge her to be like, all right, I just got to be patient in this step phase.
Right.
Now I'm really curious, now that I've taught her to be active in her step phase, like in her phases, after yesterday's practice, I'm really interested to see how some of these drills we did this year go. Cause I'm just like, man, the level of, cause I told her, I was like, all right, like, I want you to bound now. And then I queued up and I showed her like what I needed to do. First one, she got a couple of them and she's like, all right, let me go again. And like got all of them on the third try. And she's like, bounding's never felt that easy. I'm just like, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I'm so mad. Usually I take footage of everything, but it was we did a night session yesterday or a later session, so I didn't record. I'm just like, damn, I wish I would have recorded it because like the way they looked and how like the amount of speed she built up with the distance of her bounds, I was just like, and she was only taking, you know, a two-step little like step in, wasn't running nothing, and I'm just like, if I had a guesstimate just from that, like she was covering easily like 10, 11 feet per just bound. I'm just like,
Nice.
woo! And it wasn't like she was just covering, like she was holding good speed with it too. So I'm like, oh yeah, we getting 42. Like so our goal this year, like every year I set like I'm like, all right, what's our realistic goal? What's our stretch goal just based off like how you've been progressing and like what's our delusional goal?
Yeah.
So this year our delusional goal is to break Couture Orgy's state record.
Nice.
And I'm just like, you know what? If things get going, it might not be as delusional as I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That's
it's a big jump. We need 5 feet, but it's possible.
Yeah. She's so small. I love her so much. When
All right,
you're
guys.
bounding-
Sorry to interrupt. I
Okay.
gotta head out. So I don't want to shut you guys down, but you guys are. I'll keep it open. You guys can
Yeah.
keep chatting or what?
Yeah, I got
That's
a few
cool.
more minutes. My dog just stole something from like under my feet.
Yeah, I was like, I probably got about 10 more minutes. So
I don't know what she took, and I'm really curious. So,
Well, is this a good time then? Well, let's just shut it down then. We gotta get Austin's prediction.
two early Olympic predictions, Austin.
Yeah.
I
and even our jumps.
let's
Everything.
go-
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
First, I want to hear jumps first,
Okay.
and then I want you to throw a wild card out there that you're ready to make a prediction on.
Men's and women's both.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll give men and women both long and triple.
Yeah.
Just because you know that's what we're talking about. For triple jump, damn, this one's so wide open, honestly.
Yes.
I think Jasmine Moore places. I don't know where, but I feel like if my gut's telling me she can get back to that 15-meter mark that she was doing in college. I think now she's transitioned. I think now she's getting that confidence back.
Yeah.
And you know, Nikki P, I don't ever put it against him.
Yeah.
So I think she medals in triple. I think the girl from Cuba wins.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give Thea medals. I'm gonna give Thea medals. And then for men's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give Picardo wins. I'm gonna give him the win.
Really?
I'm gonna give him the win.
Okay.
Because it's his last Olympics. I feel like he's got that dog in him to bust out.
Yeah.
I think Jordan's gonna obviously. I think he's gonna medal because he's fucking jumping out of his brain.
Yeah.
And then I want Hibbert to fucking medal, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know why he didn't jump at Jamaican trials, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I haven't got any context from some people that are around the scene. I'm just like,
Yeah.
And the fact that this man has still not gone from a full approach is pissing me off. But
Yeah. Right.
but I also kind of understand why he's not as well. So I think those are the 3 medalists for men and women triple. For long jump, I think
Say the right thing.
I think Mahamba wins.
Yeah. Molly.
Yeah, I think she wins. I think Tara takes 3rd, realistically.
Yeah.
Really?
Who goes 2? That Italian bird, man.
I was gonna say, I was like,
you think so? Not that Serbian? Who's the Serbian? Who's the Serbian that's
has she even jumped this year?
Yeah.
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 She's a world lead right now.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I thought Mahamba was the world lead.
She might have. I think she might have just taken it.
Oh, okay. She went. I know that girl went 7.
Oh, here. Give us men's long, and then we're gonna deviate from the Olympics. We have something more pressing to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Men's long.
Again, we all know who's winning men's long. It's Greece, man. You don't even gotta say it.
Greece is winning.
Togu's taking it.
Togu's taking it. I got
Jamaica
the two.
is like, yeah, man. Jamaica is like stacked.
Yeah.
Realistically, I'm not gonna lie. If Greece slips up at any point, I think Jamaica can take it.
Oh, that guy's not gonna slip up. He's a
I don't think
parkour.
he will either. But if he does,
yeah.
Okay. More pressing than the Olympics right now.
This weekend or tomorrow?
Tomorrow. 400-meter hurdles.
Look,
Santos, Warholm, Benjamin.
I'm a Rye stan.
Wait,
So
where is that
I'm
Diamond League?
always,
Are they
Yeah,
is racing Diamond
all
League?
three
Okay.
tomorrow.
yep. I'm a Rye
Wow.
stan, so I'm gonna go Rye Benjamin.
Yeah,
I know his athletic.
Ooh.
I know his athletic trainer. My college teammate went to college with him.
yeah.
I'm a Rye stan, and from an athletic standpoint, he's the most gifted. And realistically, just because of knowing some people around him and that have interaction with him, the last 2 years have been really hard for him. Not even from an athletic standpoint, but from like stuff that's just gone on in his life with like his family and getting COVID and whatnot.
Yeah.
I just think all that takes such a mental toll, and you can tell after beating Carson in Diamond League final last year, I think that gave him the confidence and also just the mental relief of like, all right, cool, like I can still do this.
Yeah.
And the way he's been looking in the damn trials, I'm just like,
I don't
I
think
don't know
we
what he
should
got. I
wait.
don't know what he got in him, man, because
Yeah,
he made those look very easy.
yeah. I think if he's pressed, especially with Warholm and Dos
Oh
Santos.
man.
And honestly, like
That's
this is my wild prediction for the Olympics. I got Rye winning, I got Santos second, and I got Warholm getting third.
wow.
Warholm
Okay.
had the last 2 years, he has not looked as dominant as he normally is. Like, mind you, he's a psychopath, so it's
But
hard to bet against him.
hey, he's the only guy that's consistently 46s this year though.
Yeah,
No, he's
He's
not.
been running. Yeah, he ran 46. What to in May he ran 46.7.
All three of them have.
June. Benjamin's been all over the place.
Nah. His like main races besides like the prelims and stuff, he's ran 46 multiple times.
Really? Oh,
Here's
yeah,
that.
I'm just missing it.
Because
I
his
think
opener was
tomorrow-
like 46.4.
I don't
Yeah.
think. I think tomorrow Santos is third because he just came off that race last week. So I think he's going to be third tomorrow. I think he's going to be second at the Olympics.
Okay.
I think it's.
And
Gonna
who's
go.
first?
We got winning tomorrow.
Tomorrow? I think I'm going to give it. I think it's going to be Warholm, and the reason I say that is because I think Rye and I think Santos, their trials system and they're like going racing last week. I think they're gonna be a little
Also,
down.
too, just like that jet lag is real. And
Yeah.
and he's coming from LA too. That's a 12-hour.
Yeah.
I think there's too much behind him. So I think tomorrow's gonna be rough, but I think he comes back in Paris.
I think they all
Yeah.
run fast tomorrow, though. I do say I think they all.
Oh
run
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. I think out of experience, Rye takes the Olympics just from experience.
Yeah.
Also, I just
Simple.
feel like I just feel like even like when I watch him running, he looks like he's running relaxed this year.
Yeah.
Are we gonna see anyone go sub 46? Are you gonna see a
Tomorrow?
world record be taken? No, just in
I don't
general.
think tomorrow, no.
Not in Monaco, at Paris. Purple
Paris,
track.
I think we'll get one.
Purple track.
Yeah.
Purple track.
Wait,
power.
wait. That Warholm went 45 what? What did he go? He holds it, right? He holds the world record.
Right? I think it's 45.9.
Me and
45.9. Yeah.
Do we think last one before I let you go? Do we think Sydney McLaughlin goes sub 50?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I hope and I think that would be the most amazing performance in track and field history.
Actually, I got one more because I want to hear everyone.
Better than the 4-minute mile.
Who you got from his 100? Because this got real interesting all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, 100%. Who's that dude that just ran 977?
Yeah.
The Jamaica guy.
Kashan.
Yeah.
Kashane. Sean, something like
Kashane, I
that from
think.
Jamaica.
I
I seen someone's bold prediction it was gonna be Jamaica, and then Tobago.
I can see. Yeah.
Interesting.
Let's
Now,
see.
Lyles is too much of a competitor, man. He's not just gonna let up like that. He'll run a good race.
I don't know if he's got 9.7 in him though.
What events first? 2 or the 1?
I think the 1.
I think if you put Lyles in the 1, I think he just manages the rounds better.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the differentiator. I don't think he will have the fastest time, but I think he will manage the rounds better.
Yeah.
So
I think we might get a US sweep in the women's, honestly.
Yeah.
No, you think so? Jackson, or
But she just had that. She's cramping real bad right now. So I'm like, that. It's a little mental toll. So I'm like, she's gonna play. I don't know. There's still a lot of time.
I think she'll be okay, but I do think this is the best chance for a sweep ever.
Yeah. Especially the length output.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh,
It's gonna be
Shelly-Ann.
the Olympics.
I don't know, man.
well, like we're
Shelly-Ann.
talking about, like, yeah, Price. She'll still
Yeah.
I don't know. After watching
she's gonna
sprint, though,
be
I just
there.
like Dennis. I just like Dennis.
Who else?
Mitchell.
So, do you think Tamara Davis is going to take second, third? What do you think? Like who
That's
from the
just
U.S. is going to sweep?
That's just it. Is I think we're too young on the back end. I think our younger girls.
That's true.
I think you put Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price in there managing the pressure of the Olympics and managing
Oh,
the
yeah.
pressure of the Olympics. I think she comes out.
And she understands not to blow it up in the first 2 rounds.
I think she breaks the sweep. I think we get 2. But I think
I just want to see Gabby Thomas, man. That's what I want to see. Number 1.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
All right, guys. I got.
All right, Sam. Hey, it was a pleasure.
We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, Austin,
absolutely.
This is great, man.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
soon.
All right, have a good one.